Welcome, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start. I have a little chill. It feels like such a miracle. Thank you for putting up with us. As you saw, probably we practiced, or I practiced earlier this morning, and everything went fine. But as the world would have it, here it was, very challenging. So, but luckily, this will be on and available on Facebook once we post it. So that's a wonderful thing. I'm going to make sure that we're recording. We are recording. So you'll see the name Laura at the bottom. That is our assistant, and she is going to be monitoring us to make sure we're all good. And Laura, once we get going, you're welcome to sign off. I really, really appreciate your help once we get LeeAnn on. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm Alane Freund. I'm out in California in the United States, and I'm so pleased to introduce to you some of the international consultants on high sensitivity. If you're a member of the LeeAnn and High Sensitivity Facebook group, you've been seeing our names since not that long ago. We became the administrators of the group. And, you know, we've been talking a lot amongst ourselves about this incredibly challenging time that we're going through right now with the global pandemic. It seemed to me that our group is uniquely situated to have a conversation about everybody everywhere across the world and how highly sensitive people are dealing with this really stressful time from all different countries. I wanted to say just briefly that none of us are doctors, and we are not giving medical advice in this discussion. We're just talking about our own personal strength and experience and hope to share some hope with you. We're going to go around with brief introductions, and then we'll each talk for a couple of minutes about our own experiences and suggestions and how we're managing. And then we'll have a slightly looser conversation. You're welcome to comment in the chat, speak with each other in the chat, and I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat and some of the more techie of us. I want to say how chat works is on the bottom of your screen. I'm looking at mine right now. There's a bunch of controls, and one of them is chat. And if you click on it, the chat will be along the right side of your screen, and you should be able to, you can either chat to all the panelists, I think to all the attendees, or privately to someone. So feel free to take advantage of that. I love creating community, just like the Facebook page does. So I think those are all of my introductory remarks. I told you who I am. I'm in California, and I'm on Facebook. Oh, and we have, Jacqueline will tell you a little bit more, but our bios are on the Facebook page. And what can I say? I'm a psychotherapist and a coach, and I never do therapy across state lines. So whenever I am on this Facebook page or on Facebook in general, I'm just offering my experience, strength, and hope as a consultant and a coach. I've only known I've been highly sensitive for about 8 or 9 years, and I was told by the queen herself, LeeAnn, and but I really love the research and teaching and supporting highly sensitive people across the world. So thank you for being here. And Elena, I toss the ball to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Elena Lupo. I live and work in Italy, and I'm a psychologist and psychotherapist. I'm an HSP, of course, and I work with HSPs since 6 years. And I founded the Persone Altamente Sensibili HSP Italia that I founded to share events and contents about high sensitivity. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for joining us also in this strange period. So here we are.
And hello, everybody from Colorado in the U.S. I'm Jacqueline Strickland, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I think I've known about the HSP trait longer than anyone because it was May 1996 while waiting for a bus before Elaine's book was even published. She was looking for research subjects with a little flyer up on a bus shelter. Anyway, I'm best known for the HSP gathering retreats, and you can find more than you probably want to know about me in the files. So please go there and check out all our bios. And it's wonderful to be here with you all, and thanks for joining us.
Hello everybody, I'm Karina from Spain. You see me looking away all the time because I'm trying to get our last co-administrator on, and she cannot, so I'm sort of all over the place. But this is just totally like our start has been. So I'm Corinna from Spain, Karina Zegers. I discovered the trait like about 12 years ago, and since then I've been working with, well, I've become a coach. I'm still a coach, although retired. And I'm the founder of this association in Spain, the APASE, apase.org. We founded that about 5 years ago now, and we're working in Spain with all kinds of groups. And I'm an author. And welcome to you all. I hope we can talk about what's happening worldwide and what's happening in our countries with this pandemic. Funny times. And let's see, is LeeAnn on now? No, she still is not on, and there are no messages from her anyway.
Okay, so we'll proceed, although I'm so sad about that. And I messaged her on Facebook. Yeah. So I didn't mention that we are part of the International Consultants for High Sensitivity. I always get overstimulated when I'm on camera and forget everything I want to say. So some of you might be able to relate. The International Consultants for High Sensitivity have a description on the Alane, Aaron, and High Sensitivity Facebook page. I encourage you to look it over. One of the things that we value most is using the science to understand the trait, and that when we are commenting, we're committed to being really clear that we're basing our comments in the research. At the same time, today, we're each giving our personal comments. So I'm going to set the timer for myself. It's been slow to become part of the consciousness here in California, in Northern California, where I am. But my parents are in Oklahoma, and my dad is a retired physician, and he's been telling us all and sending emails about how fast the virus is spreading, and also how relatively harmless it is for most of the population. And that is the challenge. You know, as an HSP, I said in my earlier announcement that we see the truth. You know, we notice all the subtle details and we process it deeply. And I have been processing this like you can't believe for the last couple of weeks. And what I notice is that the younger you are, it seems like the less worried you are about it. But the reality is that many, many people are going to be infected with the virus and be walking around in their life spreading it. And that makes me feel kind of paranoid. And I posted, I had to fly in the middle of all of this. And so I've been self-isolating quite a bit. And I posted my travel hack. And in that I said that, you know, I'm not worried about myself getting the virus. As a highly sensitive person, my empathy for my community is that I'm worried about stopping the spread. And so I find myself raging if I have to go to the grocery store. I'm so angry that people are hugging and not practicing social distancing. And, you know, as a high sensation seeking sort of go-getter type of HSP, I want to fix that and I want to change everybody. And I just can't do that. So I've been reading a lot about gratitude practice and trying to meditate more. And I think I posted a poem with this announcement that a minister in San Francisco wrote. You all saw it here on the page, about how this is a time to turn in. And something I read, a gratitude post, was how we can always remember that what we think about and focus on is sort of what we become. And so I have been trying to really shift, and I'm so grateful that I have resources and I have community, that my 19-year-old son is coming home from college, and he'll be here in the country with us. And I have so much compassion and loving kindness for everybody out there. And that's me. Thank you.
Thanks, Alane.
Elena?
Well, as you know, here in Italy, we have already a very strange situation, because all the countries locked down and we all are closed in our home in a strange quarantine period. So I am in quarantine since last Sunday. And I thought that I'd like to share some reflections about this kind of strange situation. So not on the coronavirus specifically, but on what the quarantine effect provoke reactions in people. So I noticed that for HSPs, for example, it's very different reaction if you are an extrovert or an introvert. So many introvert HSPs feel the quarantine as some of a relief, in some way a relief, because they can practice self-care, they can feel safe in their home, and they can stop adapting to society in overwhelming about social situations. For HSP extroverts like me, it's the opposite. So for me, it's a high cost, not being with people, not connecting with people. So we live this situation in very different ways. The other thing is the coping strategies that Italian people are doing. So it's very strange for me, but many people found very different coping strategies about this. And so we are very resilient. I think we all, not only Italians, of course, but we really can find different creative ways to survive psychologically, I mean, and not only physically at these strange situations. The third thing is a relief for me in this moment is the positive impact of all this terrible situation on the climate change. Because fortunately, the only fortune of this period is that the level of pollution is very, very lower. So when I am sad, I only have this kind of positive thought. So
Thank you.
This is my experience.
Thanks, Elena. Okay, I think I'm next. I just want to make a disclaimer that I am sharing from the privilege of a safe home, a safe community. We have one case in our town. I think we have 133 in Colorado in general. So I feel somewhat privileged to be removed from this. But at the same time, like Alane said, my depth of processing has been working overtime. And I practice what I teach at the HSP gatherings, which is this idea of I am respecting and honoring my inevitable emotional reactions to disturbing events. I'm not shaming myself for being upset or getting anxious, but then I'm also, while I'm identifying my emotions and that what they are specifically, are they fear, are they anxiety? I'm looking for the origin of that message, and then I'm searching for facts. And I'm trying to weigh facts with my emotional reactions so that they are somewhat in balance. And I'm also aware of my self-talk, what my thoughts are saying. I'm breaking down my self-talk, and is it totally negative? Is it totally, based not on facts? Is it based on assumptions? And then I'm given all that, then I'm saying, so given what is, what do I need? And so, that changes from day to day, moment to moment. But I think one of the positives for all of us HSPs is doing what we all like to do, I think, which is, for me, I'm a sensitive extrovert, but I still thrive when I practice REST, reduced environmental stimuli therapy. So, I relish times to go inward and reflect and take moments to think about what is truly important in my life and in the world. And a colleague of mine recently said that she says, I truly believe that this crisis will serve this spiritual evolution of humanity. And I get chills thinking about that, because that's also my hope. And in my quiet time, I took a walk in nature yesterday, and I looked into the sky. There were no planes flying. The birds were singing, and I just had this deep sense that the earth was taking a deep breath and relishing this lack of, smog and fog and all the things that we emit in our cars and our airplanes. And so I think there's lots of positives that could happen. I just think we need to really monitor our emotions and compare them with facts so that we don't totally freak out.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. I am freaking out because LeeAnn is here.
Yeah. She made it.
Guess
Yeah.
what, LeeAnn? Guess what? It's your turn to introduce yourself and talk about how you're feeling about this whole thing that's going on. You're exactly on time.
Okay.
Unless you want to make a break and just get settled and calm your nerves.
Okay. Thank you. My name is LeeAnn Kirksæter, and I'm from Norway. I am been working with highly sensitive people since 2009, and I really enjoy it, especially working with women. And maybe should I take something in Norwegian that we were talking about in the beginning, or what do you think?
Yes, so yes, please just talk about how the pandemic is affecting you and Norway, and what your strategies are. Anything you would like to say for a few minutes.
Okay, I take it in English then. I feel that it's a lot of emotion coming, and a lot of people I'm talking to also have the feeling that they maybe was going to cry, but actually they don't know why I'm crying, why I'm feeling for this, and the sad feeling. But also I see, both for myself and a lot of the other people, that we are more together, the family are together, the near friends are more together. We are doing a lot of different things that we can do together. But still it can be hard because you don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's changing suddenly. I also want to say that I heads the organization Høysensitiv Norge, if some of the Norwegian want to learn more about it. And I also work for myself at leeann.no. Yes.
Thank you so much. So now what we'd like to do is just begin sort of a more loosely structured conversation. And I will put my glasses on and start to look at the chat a little bit more. But I
Miss Karina? Did we miss Karina?
No, Corinna
Yeah.
went.
To talk about.
Oh, you're right, Corinna. Sorry. Good, Corinna. Your 3 minutes. Go.
It's okay. Well, in Spain, we are second best to Italy, it seems. We're quarantined now, officially. Like Alane, I was feeling quite upset that people, the first 2 days, didn't really catch on to what was happening. It was like, it was too much for people to cope with, and the change was too big. Like, I am just as fortunate as Jacqueline. I'm living in a rural place, quite close to the big town, to Palma, but it's rural nevertheless. And both my neighbors, left and right, were having parties. I mean, it was just mind-boggling. And I had to really control myself and bite on the tip of my tongue to not go there and advise people. It's like you said, getting angry, Alane, is what you said. I felt this anger, so I just shut myself into my home and start reading and doing my messages and then group work and whatever, read a bit. So that calmed down, and then, so that was one side. And then as days progressed, I mean, police are patrolling the streets, just like in Italy. So people are getting the message. They're getting heavily fined, like 500 euros for being out on the street without a proper commitment or anything to do. We can go and shop. Supermarkets are raided, of course. Blue paper and food are gone. Heaven knows why they would buy blue paper. And we can walk our dog. Now, so I'm very lucky. I have a dog, and one person can walk one dog. And I see families walking one borrowed dog, which is also quite upsetting. But I really try to rein in my emotions and focus on the positive side, because I think, and I see in our Spanish groups happening very positive things. Solidarity, empathy, community, but virtual community, but from a good place. Like people really wanting to help. A sad thing that happened was in a village close to Valencia, people immediately set up a group for helping elderly people who cannot go and shop. And well, I mean, they needed help. They need help. And they, the police took over and said this group was not allowed. So it is difficult. It is difficult. But then again, I'd like to focus on the positive side, on the climate thing. Although I must say, airplanes are still coming in. So our air is not as good as it might have been. The cruise ships are still coming in. So things could change there. And then I ask people, which I also do myself, is not focusing the attention on the why, but on the what for. Because if you focus on the positive things, and you might ask yourself, what for am I in this situation? Or what for am I confined to my house? What for am I now ordained to be at home with 3 little children and I cannot go to my job, to my work? What for, not why. And if you go to the what for, it takes time. It probably takes a lot of time, because these questions might not even have an answer now. We don't know. But it helps you to transcend your personal drama.
Thank you, LeeAnn.
A bigger, see it from a bigger place. Did my dingling go?
Yes.
Did it go? Okay. Sorry. Right. Until here then. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, and I'm so thrilled that we're now all here. And I would like to have a little bit of a conversation, if we could, about, for each of you, what are your personal strategies for, if we could dig a little more into how are you taking care of yourself? What are you doing to support your life and your community? Does anybody have something that they'd like to share? I'll start. I'm almost embarrassed to say, I'm not self-promoting, but I do think that therapy is really helpful. And I've been having some fears that all my clients will decide they don't need therapy. And I think this is a time when we really do need a ton of support, whether it's your spiritual leader, your sister, your mother, your brother, your friend, your spouse. The world is changing, just like us trying to learn how to do this on live internet. We have a lot of tools at our disposal, and I think it's so important, while we are socially isolating, physically isolating, that we not isolate too much. On the other hand, I'm such an introvert. I always think, oh, good, now people are going to leave me alone. That's just my little joke with a germ of truth to it. Anybody else?
My oh, LeeAnn, go.
Yeah. Okay. I see the problem about you not know what's happening. But if you think instead of what you can do and how you can meet people, take care of each other. As someone I know, they was different family living different places and was not allowed to meet. But although they met, but they went for a walk, everyone had to drive for a while. They went for a walk, but they had quite a big distance between. But they could talk together. They went into the wood, and they had a nice time. Although they couldn't hug each other, be too near, but still they met each other.
And, they say, all the health professionals say, being outside in nature is good for your immune system and a good place to breathe. And all the HSP professionals say being outside in nature is good for optimal level of arousal. Elena, you were going to comment, and then I think I'll read a couple comments from the chat.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on one of the chats too. So
Okay, let's go with Elena, and then Jacqueline, why don't you take it next?
okay.
What I wanted to share is about limits and boundaries in this moment, because this kind of strange situation put us in a condition that we have to take care of ourselves before the care of others. So on the other end of this situation, I'm doing very more things for me than in every period of my life before because I have time. I do have time for me in this moment. So I respect more my limits in this strange situation. And of course, because of this situation, I respect also more my boundaries with people. So this is the other end that I'm learning about in this situation. Take more time, more downtimes, and divide time more specifically oriented for my self-care. The other thing about nature is that I'm noticing that for people in quarantine is very different for who live in a flat and who live in a house, in a home where they have garden or terrace or something in nature. I live, fortunately, in a home with a garden, big garden and a wood. So I feel very lucky in this moment because I think that I suffer at least less than others, because I can go outside and I can go in my garden and stay in nature. I'm very sorry and sad for the other people in Italy who cannot go outside in this moment, neither in the parks. So they have to stay inside in the flats. And I think this is very hard. It would be very hard for me. So my thoughts and my empathy in this moment go to these people in the flats.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elena. And I just wanted to respond to Carol. Hi, Carol from Egypt. She said she was traveling through Madrid, and Madrid was then, alerted that they had many cases. So she's now home and isolated and wondering how to deal with her anxiety and her fear. And so I just want to address that. I think it's so important to ask what fear is an important emotion. Fear suggests that we should be cautious, that to be cautious. Anxiety to me implies that, we need to do some extra self-care to calm our nervous system. So I think the most, important thing is to stay in the present moment, whatever you might have to do. Again, I think nature is wonderful for that. Staying in the present moment, saying, given what is right now in this moment, what do I need? And so right now in this moment, Carol, I'm assuming that you're safe. I'm assuming that you don't know yet if you've gone contracted, but you don't have any symptoms. So just stay in that present moment until something new arises. And in the meantime, practice extreme self-care and self-compassion. And I think many of us in the world, in America especially, can't stand uncertainty. They want to know the answer now. And I think the big challenge is that we don't know. And we just need to have self-compassion and stay in the moment and honor our feelings, but ask, where are they coming from and what assumptions am I making about these feelings that maybe aren't factual? Again, just have a great deal of self-compassion and for others as well.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I want to just disclose that I experience a tremendous amount of anxiety myself. And, what I notice is my mind gets spinning. whether I'm thinking about all the things that everyone should do. And I saw that someone posted their son is abroad in the Netherlands, and at that age, that thinks that it's all fine. And it's very, very difficult to not have control of our adult children and our grandchildren. But I wanted to talk about the resource of guided meditation, guided tapping, guided breathing. The resources online are tremendous. I use Insight Timer, which is a meditation app, but there are many. And I also read and listen to a lot of fiction to help with my escape. But in the end, I can't always move into the pressure, which is really what Pema Chodron advises. Move toward the fear, move toward the anxiety. You can't make it go away, so move into it, embrace it, and love it. I can't always do that by myself. So I do really like to pursue teachers and guided techniques. And I'll just mention, I watched a couple videos on tapping, which is emotional freedom technique. They're all over Facebook on managing fear through tapping, and there's actually science behind it helping. So here we are at home, able to make use of all these online resources.
There's something else I'm thinking of. Cut down screen time, because there's so much information going around, and not all information is correct information. All these conspiracy theories, it's all well, but I mean, they just make you worry more. And why would you want to worry more? So find for yourself a couple of sites you can go to which have the correct information, and still we don't know whether it's really correct or no, but places you confide in, and stick to those. I mean, don't go wandering over the internet and feeding your own anxiety with other people's anxiety, because fear is almost as contagious, or maybe more contagious, than the actual virus is. So insecurity and fear go together. And I ask people to stop screen time or stay within the groups, the HSP groups, where people console each other or try to calm each other. And maybe not always it's a good idea to give advice, but just listen to people and embrace them and in their words and in their worries, and listen to them. That could be enough, basically.
I like that. I call that a news diet.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say I can only watch 10 minutes of news a day.
Yeah.
I'd like to address this idea of fear and anxiety. And Alane, you said Pema Chodron suggests that we go into it, and you have difficulty doing with that. Many years ago, I created a meditation of hope and love when we invaded Afghanistan and Iraq, and my emotions were going all over the place. And so I created this meditation of hope and love, where in my thoughts and in my meditation, first of all, I listed all my emotions: fear, anxiety, anger, confusion. And so I just imagined these as people lining up, waiting to be seen and heard. So fear would come up, and I would say, "Oh, hello, fear. I see you. I welcome you. I have compassion for you. Please know that you have not been forgotten." And then anxiety came up, and then I was like, "Oh, anxiety about what's going to happen. I see you." So I let each of them come up to be seen and heard, as if in communion, almost as if I was welcoming them and giving them a hug of some sort. And then at the end, I got a votive candle for each emotion that came up, and I lit one for fear, lit one for anxiety, lit one for confusion and uncertainty. And I lit those lights, and I just sat there in meditation, looking at the flames and imagining those concerns being embraced by love and being embraced by something higher than me. And so it was a way to welcome the fear and anxiety instead of pushing it away, but then doing something with it at the end and containing it and releasing it to a power of love and something greater than me. And it seems to really bring me a lot of comfort, or my inner emotions comfort, because I feel like I've at least acknowledged them.
And I see someone here ask, which HSP groups can you recommend? And I think that really we're in a position to recommend this group, Alane, Aaron, and High Sensitivity, because we're moderating it. And I would encourage everyone to find each of us on Facebook on our professional pages as well, so that we'll all be doing our best to post resources.
Yeah, and also in this group, people can post their questions and we will answer.
Yes, and comments, for sure.
Comments as far as we can, of course, but feel free to post your questions and share them with us.
If anybody is listening and you have not yet found the chat, it's on the bottom of your screen. If you bring your cursor down to the bottom of the screen, you will see some little icons pop up, and one of them says chat. And if you click on it, then you'll be able to see the chat on the side of the screen. So just a few more comments, and I think we'll close this, and so that we can get it up on Facebook, and then there can be a lot of discussion there. Should we each make closing comments? Elena, could you start us?
Ellen, you made me think about another thing in this situation, that for us HSPs, the non-verbal part of communications is very important. So it's true that thanks to this kind of technology, we can feel connect with people anyway. But I think when I have Skype sessions with my clients in this period, I feel that I miss something very important in my perceptive in my perception. So I feel, I see, and I hear less. So this experience is making me be more aware of the importance for us of this sixth sense, the intuition part. So really, we process things very differently from other people, I think, and I feel very, very uncomfortable the virtual communication, because I feel something like I cannot see or I cannot hear is something that make me less feel the other. So it's very interesting, this kind of observation for me.
I'm not sure exactly what you were saying, Elena, but for me, I have this incredible imagination that just can go wild if I'm not careful. And yesterday, while I was hiking in nature, I had this vision come to me that, again, that for the first time, I think, in my life, I mean, we had 9/11, and I've been through civil rights here, and the assassination of JFK, etc. I've been through a lot of world of trauma, and but for yesterday I had this thought, this is the first time in my life where I have, oops, my internet is unstable. This is the first time in my life that I've had a true sense that everybody in the world is experiencing the same thing. And I had this feeling that we are all one. So from a political point of view, I think it's an important turning point to maybe help everyone realize we are all one. And I just imagined for myself, which was so comforting, that the earth was smiling, the rivers were smiling, the lakes were smiling, the plants were smiling, because they weren't being inundated with all the man-made carbon and dioxide and all the other toxic things going on. So those thoughts are soothing me in a way.
Can I add something to that? You're about my age, and I remember being a teenager when the revolution at the Sorbonne happened in Europe, in France. And the feeling I had then, I can remember this clearly because it's very impacting, compares to what is happening now for me. because in spite of the drama, because there is a drama, obviously, there's also hope. Hope for change, hope for a better world, hope for more dignity for everybody. And I perceive that too, this hope. It's there, where we all wanted and asked for a change and for a shift to happen. And this might be it. And I truly think it is.
Mm.
Mm.
Can I say no?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a shift, and that everybody is got more time to think about life, to think about the other ones, and want to help more people. We want to be more together, and we are feeling more to take care of everybody. So I think this time is very important, and especially for us who is HSP. We feel more, we are more in it, and we see more.
And I think when this whole crisis passes, that the HSPs can stand taller with our emotional leadership, because we are bridge builders. We are compassionate. We do have empathy. You know, some of our best qualities can serve us in emotional leadership to help bring people together and help create bonds of understanding and compassion. And so, yeah, I think once it's over, we can really just become emotional leaders.
There was a question that we didn't get to, and I encouraged the questioner to post it on our group and to message me. But it addresses what I wanted to say in closing, which is that there are people in our communities, people around us who are not doing what we think they should do, and who are maybe not doing what I might think is socially responsible. And it is so hard to not have control. In the 12-step programs, there's a concept of practicing these principles in all our affairs. So the recommendation there is that we live our best life, and that we share our truth, and that we allow other people to learn by watching and seeing us. And because it's no doubt that we can't control the people around us, and it's so difficult. The other piece I wanted to say, two more things. One, for parents. Wow, do I feel for you to be trapped in your home with your young children who want play dates. And LeeAnn made some good points, and there are many different great resources out there for parents. But I want to say that the same thing that highly sensitive children need, the same thing that highly sensitive people need, is what everybody needs. What's good for the HSP or the HSC is good for everybody. And the top of my list is structure. So I think it's really important that we all maintain some kind of structure in our lives. I could see that it might be easy just to stay in bed and all day. And I know that that doesn't work for me. In fact, I've upped my exercising. And I always say in my practice, it's very, very hard to have an anxiety attack when you're doing a plank. A plank, you know, is the top of a push-up. Oh, so hard. The last thing is that make no mistake, we experience trauma harder than the dandelions, the other 80%. Trauma is so hard for us, but we manage trauma better if we're in a good environment and we're getting the kind of support we need that we've been talking about here today. But this is a traumatic experience for our entire planet. And I thank you for saying the phrase, Jacqueline, emotional leadership. It's so important that we can manage this by doing radical self-care. And I really, really want to support every HSP in just taking that next step forward and honoring that this is trauma, and you may feel under fire by it, and this too shall pass. It actually will pass, and we will survive it. But your knowledge and your intuition and your empathy will be what leads the whole planet through this. So thank you so much for being here.
Elaine,
Go Go ahead, Jen.
Elaine, I see one important question on the chat, one important
Please.
statement that I think it's important to address. She says that some somatic therapists say that HSP is just an unregulated nervous system. Just briefly, I want to say that is not true. Yes, sometimes our nervous systems are unregulated and we let assumptions and our emotions go wild, not based on facts, and so we're very unregulated. But unregulated or not, even when we're the most calm, centered, grounded HSPs, we still have DOES, depth of processing, overstimulation, emotional intensity, sensitive to subtleties. Yesterday in my hike on nature, I was with 2 non-HSPs. I was hearing the red-winged blackbird sing, the robin sing, the woodpecker. I was pointing out all these. Did you hear the woodpecker? No, they didn't hear the woodpecker. So, you know, whether we're overstimulated or not, we still have the DOES characteristics. So I would just say to that somatic therapist that she's incorrect, he or she is incorrect. So,
and the actual correct language is finely tuned nervous system and highly reactive brain. So, but you know what I love about the chat and the questions, you all? We're going to post this on Facebook and bring them on. We are all committed to participating in the comments, and I invite you all to join us there. So thank you so much for being here, and to my colleagues on the International Consultants on High Sensitivity. I love you all, and I love your wisdom. Thank you. Bye,
thank you
baby.
all.
Bye. Thank you.